All right, so this is the third video for the homework, week 4 homework assignment for Art 239, Web Design 1. We're going to work on the bottom section now. So our first section is, for the most part, pretty good. Might have some little tweaks to do in here and change some widths, but I want to get everything done here, and then we're going to go flip back to the Photoshop document and flip back to the file and make sure we've covered everything off. So let's flip over to Photoshop. And we know we've got some other items to address here. We've got this guy, and this guy. So let's go ahead and start styling. So we're looking at here. We know we've got a height and width set, and we know we have a border radius. So we've already done that for this guy. So let's set it up. So it's a quick way to find out what that border radius is. And we just draw a marquee out to where the radius stops, right there, and that's 7 pixels. So that's our radius, and let's grab our height and width so we know how big this sucker's got to be. I'm holding down the shift key to constrain my movement and put it in line. That's good. 297, basically the same height and width as that circle. So 7 pixel radius, 297. Let's set that up. Okay, so that's our, go to our source code here. That's our rounded corner box, our rounded corner box div. That's right there. Let's flip back to our main.css and let's go find that. Rounded corner box. There you go. So, a couple quick things we can do here. Let's just grab our height and width setting that we already put in place, paste it in, delete that line just to clean it up. So now we know we have our height and width. There it is. And now we know we need to do a border radius. So we know it's 7 pixels. Let's just go ahead and grab the border radius line item here that we already used, copy it, paste it in. Let's change it to 7 pixels. Done. Now again, you're not going to see it modify in here until we assign a background on it. So save that, flip back. Alright, now it has a background of an image, but it also has a drop shadow. So let's take a look at that drop shadow first. Let's select this called alright, so you'll see this in the Photoshop doc, layer 2. This is actually the image that is being masked by the rounded rectangle mask here. So let's open up our drop shadow and see what we got. 16 on 60. That's very similar to another drop shadow we used. So let's cancel that. Oh, wait, double check it. Black. Black, 60% opacity, 16 pixel size. And one more time. Distance, 0. Spread 0, so it's set. This is distance here, by the way, is our H shadow and V shadow combined. So let's jump back. Let's take a look at Dreamweaver, and circle is what was our setup? What was our drop shadow that we had 60%? Yeah, we'll just do it straight right from here. Rounded corner box. Make sure we're selected here in the CSS designer, and let's go to our background because that's where we set box shadow. 0 tab, just make sure 0 tab, blur 16 pixels, tab, spread is 0, and the color is RGB. Now I can play with this, or I can just type it in here, 60. There we go. Bam. There's our box shadow and our border radius. Let's save it. Let's flip back to Chrome, and you'll see it's right here. Right? But it's smacked up against that top section. So let's flip back here and take a look and see what we're dealing with here. So it looks like we have some consistent spacing here. So let's check this out. Zoom in. And we've got a height of 75. because I'm a pixel over here, and 75 tall by 53 wide. So let's just do that. 73, 75, and 53, and let's put that on our bottom section. Padding. Let's flip back, find our bottom section. Padding, colon. What do we say? 75 pixels, 53 pixels. Again, that's our shorthand for top and bottom, left and right. Just make it consistent. I save that, click over here, boom, you'll see the spacing happen. All right, so now we have our object set. It has proper spacing, we have a rounded corner, we have our drop shadow, but we don't have a background image. So let's go remedy that. So easy way to do that is if we hide this mask, and then we can grab our image. So here's what we're going to do. I'm just going to make my selection here around the image. It needs to be bigger because I want to grab the entire image, not with the curves. So there we go. So now I just aligned it. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to unlink this mask. There we go. So there's my mask. I still have my rounded, my rectangle marquee. I'm going to make sure I'm selected on layer 2. I'm going to copy, file new, choose clipboard, hit create, and paste. That's my background image. I want the square. I do not want the rounded corners in that because I'm going to use the div to actually crop the image right within the HTML. So this is another perfect candidate for a JPEG. So let's just export. Let's choose JPEG. And let's try 50. Whoop, yeah, that got kind of cruddy. Let's go to 70. Okay, that's better. Good. All right. Excellent. Sounds good. Let's go ahead and export this. Now it's doing Untitled because that was the name of the file. And let's drop us into our images directory. Again, let's make sure we're in the right place. Week 4 homework site images. Great. And let's just call it Fabric BG for background. Save it. Done. Close that out. Don't need it anymore. And just to make sure I'm covering off everything, let's relink. I'm holding down the Option key, hovering between these two, and I get that little icon. Click it. My mask is back. Let's flip back to Dreamweaver, and let's give our rounded corner box the background it deserves. Rounded corner box, background image right here. Choose the folder, choose Fabric background, pop it in. So you're not going to see the rounded corner, but if I save it and flip back to Google Chrome, I do. Everything's cropped nicely. So a couple things I can do here. Let's just test this out real quick. So I made an image that was 297 by 297 inside of a box that's 297 by 297. So my image can repeat. It cannot repeat. It doesn't matter because all I'm seeing is that. So I can leave it the way it is. Other than that, I could set sizing to be specific to 297 by 297. I just don't need to do that because the image is already ready to go for this box. All right, rounded corner box 2. What's next? Let's flip back, scroll up. Okay, so I got my top left and bottom left and bottom right corners are straight, and I have a radius only on my upper right and lower left. So let's take a look here and let's get this done. That looks about right. So 59. Let's just call it 60 for good measure. Good. Let's use 60 as our radius, and it looks like it's the same. That's not it. That's it. Looks like it's the same here. 16, 60% black, 0, 0. Great, it's all the same. Let's check the color overlay and let's check this color. And we'll just copy it. Great, so a lot of the stuff is is the same. So I just copied that color. I'm actually going to leave that open because I'm going to make some other copies here. So rounded corner box. I'm going to grab everything, copy it, paste it. So it's the same now. And you're going to see the same thing happen. That's okay. Our width and height are different, and our background colors are different, so that's what we're going to start setting up. So let's go back to Photoshop. Let's grab our color. And we know we got to get rid of the background image, and we just need our background color. Go back to Dreamweaver. Make sure we're on the same rounded corner box 2. Go to background. Let's give it a background color. Hex value. Select the numbers. Paste. Done. You will not see that take effect because the background color is underneath the image. We just got to get rid of the image right here. Boom. Hit that trash icon, goes away. All right, so now we know we had 60 on the bottom left and upper right, and nothing on the top left and bottom right from a radius standpoint, so let's fix that. So let's go back to the border, and let's uncheck the link. And this one is supposed to be 0. This one is 60. Tab back. This one is 0. Delete. Tab one more time. This one is 60. You see that? It doubles it again, so let's just remove that to 66. We don't want that. Boom. Again, not going to see it until you flip over to Chrome. And there's a rounded, but it looks like it's not rounding. It's rounding the top left and bottom right. So let's see why that's doing that. And we'll see very clearly why it's doing that. I have 0016. There's some problem going on here. So let's go back in here. Go back to border. Ah, the link went back on. Turn that link off. 0. 0. It keeps linking. Stop linking it. Let's do this because there seems to be a problem here. Oh, there we go. Border radius. Let's get rid of that. There you go. Okay. Clear it out. That's what we want. 60. Sorry, that's 0, actually. This one is 60. Trash. 60. 60. Enter. There you go. Okay, so you see it says bottom border, bottom left radius, border top right radius. We save it. You won't see it here, but you will see it here. And that is the correct setting we want, except our width is wrong. So 297 height, 1047. No, probably 1048. Let's scroll over. Nope, 1047 wide. Let's drop back here. Let's change our width to 1000. Whoops. 1047. That you'll see affected. That's good. That's what we want. Flip back to Photoshop and let's take a look at the amount of padding we got around this sucker. So there is sorry, margin. So we're looking at 66 and we're looking at 104 basically. 104. Okay. Let's go back here. Go back to Dreamweaver and let's set our padding top. Sorry, our margin top and our margin bottom. We'll go right down here. Margin top, 66 pixels. Margin bottom, what did I say? 104 pixels. There we go. Proper spacing. So you'll notice that the margins are a little flaky. They're not rounded numbers. This page was, basically built kind of quickly and eyeballed into place. When you're doing your designs, you do want to make sure that you've got consistent margins and consistent padding. So what I like to do on things when I'm tweaking and making sure everything's good, I like making my top and left margins the same. So I'll draw out a square marquee, and I'll put some grids in to make sure that everything's lined up. So you'll notice that this design is on a 12-column grid. So what you would want to do is when you set this spacing, set it to a round number, just makes it easier, and then make sure you just kind of repeat that down along. And you can use this as a 1 times or 1.5 times the height of that to do a nice vertical rhythm through your page. Okay, so let's go back here. We have things looking good. All right, let's start playing with this stuff now. All right, so this is our image in. We load that image in. Image is there. And let's sample some copy settings here. And this is Baskerville 18 on 24, left aligned. Okay, let's go set that. This is our, let's flip back to source code and make sure we know what we're dealing with here. It's under float text, and it's para 1. So here's another way to do it. I've got this as para 1. I don't actually need this. So here's what I'm going to do, because I have float text, so I can target that inside that block. So I'm going to get rid of para 1. I don't need it. And I actually don't even need the float right image here. So I'm actually going to get rid of that too. And here's why. Because I'm already inside of a float text. And I'll show you how we're going to do that. Again, doesn't change the visual here, but we're inside float text. So let's go back to the CSS, scroll down. So we're inside float text. I don't need this class anymore. Get rid of it. Gone. Okay, so float text has a couple settings that we need to do first. So let's jump over here. Sorry, jump over to the Photoshop doc. Float text has a, looks like it has a total width of 1046, which is 1046 from this block to this block, which means that is actually 1046, not 1047. Let's just change that real quick. Good, done. Back here, so this is 1046. It looks like there's some padding inside this block, but not for the image. So we're going to put padding on the paragraph, but we won't put padding on the image. So 1046 wide, and it looks like we have a height of 158. Let's double check that. Line it up. 158. Okay, 1046 wide, 158 high. I am not, usually we wouldn't set the height for copy blocks, but the reason that we're going to set the height, which we'll go over next week, is what happens when you float something inside of a div. It comes out of the flow of the objects, so its parent will actually collapse, and you'll have a problem with this padding. So we're going to set the height on this one. So 158 high, 1046 wide. Let's go to Dreamweaver. Let's go to our float text. Our width is 1046 pixels wide. Our height is, what do we say, 158 pixels wide. And we want to center it. Remember our centering trick. Let's just go grab that from up top. Left and right auto. Copy it. Paste it. And now we'll see here that it is now sized and centered, but you know, stuff sitting on top of it. That's okay because we've set it to a height. This image is actually breaking out of that box. We want to float it over here to the right, and that's done very simply by literally floating the image. So let's do another one. Float text, that's our container, and inside of it is an image. That's what we're dealing with. And we want to float that guy to the right. So, well, we don't remember what the what that declaration is. So let's go here. Float text space img. That's where we want to be. It's under layout, and float is going to be down here. So you'll see here this little iconography that shows that if you're floating left, copy is going around the image. If you're floating right, copy is going around the image to the left, or you don't have a float. Well, we want to float it right. I'm going to hit that, and you're going to immediately see what happens. The image all of a sudden moves over to the right. Now, it's not really doing what we want it to do. Let's flip over to Chrome, and I'll show you why. Because it's underneath the paragraph. So here's what we want to do. We want to just change the order in the DOM, in the HTML. I'll flip back to the source code, and all we're going to do here is I'm going to grab this image, click it, and drag it up. And I'm going to delete to get it in there where it's supposed to be. Get rid of that line item, save it, and now you'll see what happens. Everything's lining up the way we want it, which is great. Okay, so let's go back here to Photoshop. What do we got here? We got Baskerville, 18 on 24, left aligned. Let's fix that. So that's the P tag there. Go to main class. We're going to do the same exact thing that we did with the image, but we're going to do it as a paragraph. So float text P for the paragraph. Open that up. And now we have some font settings to do. So we're on float text P. Let's go to the text property. Let's grab the correct font family, Baskerville. And font size is, what we said, 18. Left align. And line height, I think, was 24. Let's double check that. Okay, you see what happens here? Really huge because the pixel didn't apply. Let's just go make sure that that was correct. Go back here. 18 and 24. Yep. And it's inheriting the color from the body. We've already done that. So let's make sure that we set all of our padding, all of our settings correctly here. So this float text, I'm getting some space here. I just want to set the padding to 0 because that's important. On the inside, and let's go to the paragraph, which is floating around that image, and let's draw a guideline right there, right there. This one is a pixel off. Let's put that back down where it should be. Great. Okay. All right. We want to make sure that we do this a couple different ways, but I'm really just going to use margin to do this. So 24 pixel margin here. To the end, we've got 42. Let's go back here. Float. We're going to do margin. And we don't know what our tops are, so let's actually just do auto for our top. Our right was 24 pixels. Auto for the bottom. And then 42 pixels for the left. All right, and everything will be set up. We're going to change that auto in a second. Let's go back to Photoshop and let's grab our height here. Height is 29 pixels. It's taller here. I am not going to set a bottom padding. Why? Because I don't want to push this taller than it needs to be. The image, the height of the box is already taking care of that, so I really only need to do the top. So that's 29 pixels. So let's set the top to 29. I'm just going to leave the bottom on auto, and that will adjust this bottom to be whatever height it needs to be that's necessary. And put my 24 pixels. So why isn't the margin taking effect? Well, basically because the image is floating, and a floated image kind of disregards any of the margins that are around it. It'll just sit right on top. So I think we need to give this a width to make sure that it does exactly what we want it to do. So let's give it a width. 469. Let's just call it 470. So let's give this box a width, 470 pixels, done. And then you'll see that it blocks off, but now we have a now we have a wrap that we don't want. So we're going to have to start playing around a little bit to tweak it. So let's change our top margin to 20. Let's change our left margin to 32. See what happens. Everything wraps. It's wrapping nicer now. We do have an orphan here, or a widow. I always get those crossed, but it still looks good. So got your basic layout in. We're good to go. Let's flip over to Photoshop. Let's check out this rule. Okay, so we have a distance above it. It's 59 height. Looks like 59 height underneath too. And we have a width. And that width is 618. So let's give that 618 pixels wide. We have 59 pixels on top and bottom for margin. So let's set that. Okay, so width 618. Whoop, I forgot my semicolon. That would do it. So margin top 59 pixels, margin bottom 59 pixels. All right, that's going to give that there. It is not aligned now, so let's see what happens. Can I just add a text align center to it? Where did that go? Didn't type. Text align. See, I get my context specific. That's the one I want, and I want center. And I hit semicolon. See if it works. Oh, that's where I typed it. Let's get rid of that. Let's flip back to the source code and let's find that copy. There it is. I don't want that. Get rid of that. Save it. Flip back to main.css. All right, so this was a test. This text align center. It does work on the HR. I'm looking at it in Chrome. Does not work in here. So text align center, that works. Works for me. We'll deal with it. Let's go back to Photoshop. All right, let's take a look at what this is. This is a 1 pixel high rule. Let's sample this color, and it is 87, 87, 87. Okay, so how you style HRs is using border. So HR rule, we can just go to the border, and let's just do a top border. Width is 1 pixel. Style is solid. And color is hex value. We copy that color, 87, 87, 87. Boom, and now you have your color set. Flip over to Chrome, and 1 pixel. Look good. All right, back to Photoshop. Now we've got our secondary rule here, so we might as well just update it while we're here. Let's go our full width. This is 1046. Zoom in. It's a 1 pixel high. It has a color. Let's sample it. Copy that. And it should have the same distance that we were playing with earlier. It's not. So let's just put a margin top on that, and then we can put we can duplicate that. So this is 48 pixels away, 47 pixels. So let's flip back and let's just duplicate everything that we did for the HR rule. So I have my color pasted, copied in my clipboard. I'm just going to paste it here so I have it. I'm going to copy. I'm going to paste everything about this rule. And now I'm just going to delete to here. There's my color. I need to, I can keep text align center, but my width now is 1046. My margin top was 47, and I'm going to do the same thing with the margin bottom. Save it, and I flip back to Chrome, and there's my color, and there's my correct width. Okay, let's make some changes to my paragraphs. This paragraph setting is 18 on 48. I think that was para 2. And this setting is 18 on 24, right aligned. Widths. So this width being 725, so let's set that width, and let's set our setting. So 725 width, 18 on 48. The Dreamweaver. Let's make sure that we're dealing with the right paragraph, which is paragraph 2. That's what we want. Main. Okay. Para 2, we're going to inherit everything from paragraph. So what is that? Up here, font family, Arial, font size, line height. So all we need to really do is override the font size and the line height. It's going to be 18 on 48. So I'm just going to copy these. Bring it down to paragraph 2. Paste. And change it to 18, 48. And you'll see that change. And now I'm going to add in my width, which was 725. So width, 725 pixels. There, done. Remember we moved the para 1. I don't need that anymore. I'm just going to get rid of it. Okay, paragraph 2. Same thing here. Let's just copy. Sorry, para 3. Paste those in. I know my width is going to be wider. So let's check this. This should be my 1046. 1046 and right alignment. So my width is 1046. And let's just type out text align. And I want right. I'm just using my cursor keys to go through this list. I want right. Great. Still have to change my leading. Let's check that. Come in here. There we go. 18 on 24. That's what we want. 18 on 24. Our setting's good. Let's flip back and see what kind of spacing we have here. That's 48. And that is going to be the line height for the previous one, which was 48. So we're in good shape. All right, done. All right, let's flip back here. Now we've got this paragraph setting. We've got a width of 832 and a height of 325. I am not going to set the height on this. I'm going to let the padding inside this paragraph set its height by itself. So, but we do need a width. So 832, and we want it centered. So this one is gray box. Width equals 832. I think that was it, right? Let's get that again. 832. Great. I'm going to grab some padding. I'm going to hold down my shift key to draw out a perfect square, and that's pretty close. Go from the corner here. Oh, it's out to this guy. So it's 107. So I'm just going to use that as 107 to wrap all around it. Some designers are looking for pixel perfect settings across the board, but you're also designing when you're in HTML. So if it looks a little bit different, you can tweak it. So just for ease of showing this, we're going to keep it at 107 pixels to this border. We're going to wrap it around the whole thing. So we're just going to do an inside padding, which is an oxymoron because padding is always inside. Padding of 107 pixels. That's good. Now you're going to see it start spacing apart. It has a background color. Let's sample the color. Grab it. D3, D3, D3. Let's give it a, I'm just going to start typing background. I'm going to go down to color. Boom. Hash, paste, semicolon. Background's in there. Margin left, margin right auto. I'm just going to go up here, copy that, paste it in. Boom. Centered. And now we're good. I have a centered copy. A little too close here. So I know I had a setting, a margin setting up here. So this should be a total of 96 pixels away. Let's take a look what we're doing on that HR tag. So that's 96 pixels. This HR tag is 47. All right, so I just basically changed the margin bottom on this rule. That pushed it down to where I wanted. And then we're good.